Queuing up bumpers now. The following episode of Mind of a Geek is brought to you by Inked Geek Gaming. For a list of all of our servers, go to tiny.cc/iggaming. Thanks. Enjoy the show. Hello, everybody, and welcome to episode 3 of Mind of a Geek. I am joined today by Mr. Garrett Weinzierl. Garrett, how you doing, sir?
I'm doing all right. How you doing, Nate?
Oh, not too bad, not too bad. Finally, like a year and a half after I said I'd get you on a show, finally get you on a show.
Hey, it happened. It didn't say it had to be timely.
Indeed, and we're both busy people. Well, you're busy. I like to pretend I'm busy. So.
Oh, I'd like to pretend I'm busy too. I think we're in the same boat.
Indeed. So in case anybody doesn't know who Garrett is, he is one of the hosts over at A-Move TV, and he is famous for such podcasts as The Angry Chicken, Into the Nexus. The Overwatchers is getting up there.
Yeah, yeah.
And you have a new solo show called The Angry Nerd.
That I do.
Very cool. Can you tell us a little bit about those projects?
Oh, well, I mean, three of them are strictly gaming related, and then the fourth, I usually end up talking about games eventually. So I like the video games, and I like talking to people about them.
Awesome. I obviously all three of them are Blizzard video games.
Yes, yes, they are. So on the Angry Nerd, since it doesn't have one specific game that it's tied to, I tend to kind of talk about whatever else I'm talking about that isn't or whatever else I'm playing that isn't a Blizzard game.
Right. Well, both of us fall pretty comfortably into that Blizzard fanboy category. So
yeah, it feels. I mean, I see you posting in the Tadpole all the time on Facebook. So clearly, I think we all kind of came out of that realm of being a fan of Scott Johnson shows.
Oh yes. The gaming styles, the podcasting, all of it. We all kind of fall victim to it eventually.
Yeah. Gaming podcasts got me through college. Many late nights getting projects done that I probably should have spent a little more time during the day working on. But that's how I kind of got into them.
Right. Yeah. I mean, ironically, not Blizzard, but when I started podcasting, the guys I met were through SWTOR, which was essentially WoW with lightsabers. So
yeah, more or less. And I enjoyed Tor quite a bit. I played it with my now wife. Jeez.
Right.
And guested on Scott Johnson's Tor podcast. It was very short lived, but I was on it a few times, and that was a fun game. I've been itching to get back into it. I don't know why. I don't know what's going on in the world right now that could possibly make me more interested in Star Wars products. But I've been having an itch to return to that game.
Unfortunately, uncanon Star Wars projects now.
Yeah, whatever. I don't.
Yeah,
like it, who cares?
Well, yeah, it's like with comic books.
Take away your fandom. It just doesn't mean it'll be tied into the movie, it's whatever.
Right. I'm still crossing my fingers that Disney makes an Old Republic series.
Yeah, and I would argue because the Clone Wars, the animated series, is considered canon.
Right.
And there is an episode where they find an Old Republic vessel with an Old Republic droid that teaches some Padawans about lightsaber crystals. I would say it's arguable that the Old Republic is canon because it is mentioned in the Clone Wars.
I think it's understood that it existed. I think they even referenced it in one of the prequels, like just the phrase, the Old Republic.
Yeah, it's been thrown around a few times, but I want to say the ship in Clone Wars had like the actual Old Republic logo from the game.
Oh, nice. Yeah, I think the hardest thing to canonize that would simply be where it's an MMO, like the problems all MMOs face, where you can't have a million Sith holding a seat in the chamber.
There's a lot of bloat.
Right. So, but no, I enjoy it. I thought the story was well done. Obviously, if you play, KOTOR 1 and 2, the Jedi Knight story of SWTOR is KOTOR 3. And EA just kind of pushed them to make an MMO because that was the thing back in 2010. Everything had to be an MMO.
Yeah. I mean, we were no one knew that, just around the corner, subscription-based online RPGs were kind kind of going the way of the dodo.
Right.
Although I would say, at least Tor got in sooner than, say, Elder Scrolls, which by the time Elder Scrolls had come out was like, oh no, there's a subscription. Everyone kind of looked at them like they had 3 heads.
Right.
So.
Yeah, and it seems to be failing or falling. Now they've all kind of gotten rid of it, and WildStar's free to play now, and they have their premium member options. And I actually like the way like ESO does it, because unlike SWTOR, which is heavily gated, if you don't pay, you level slower, you're capped. You have to like buy tickets to do like flashpoints and PvP and stuff.
Yeah, I don't care for Tor's free to play model. When I do return to it, I just throw $15 at it and play it for a month.
Right. Yeah, and you can generally finish the campaign in that amount of time. And again, if you want to run the dungeons in SWTOR, just run the dungeons in WoW, because it's WoW with lightsabers. But no, I enjoyed it. It was a fun game.
Yeah.
Excuse me. So let's not jump off this train right now. Let's talk about Star Wars. You have the new podcast episode you did.
Oh yeah.
Which I really enjoyed, by the way.
Oh, I'm glad. Yeah, I did a one-off podcast. You guys can find it. It's called Embrace the Spoilers, The Force Awakens. I got together Kyle and my buddy Ben from Ye Olden A-Move Radio Days, a podcast I don't do anymore. And it basically just scheduled time to talk to 2 of my closest friends about Star Wars.
Right.
We had to, man. Actually, I went and saw it with Ben. And geez, we had a mini podcast afterwards. We were just, but what does this mean now that this has happened? And what about that? What were you disappointed about? Which for me was very little. I would have liked to have seen different starships. I was kind of sad that we just got X-Wings and TIE fighters, but
right.
Yeah. Are we going into spoiler territory? What's the of?
Yeah, I mean, I can put a warning in the title of the show, because I don't want to kind of walk around it. We're almost at the 2-week point.
Yeah, I mean, I feel like most people.
The thing's made $1 billion worldwide. I don't think anyone's listening to my show that hasn't seen it.
That's very true. I was just curious. I try to be respectful, because
good.
if for whatever reason had unfortunately not seen the movie yet, not only A, would I be mad I hadn't seen the movie yet, but B, I'd be really mad that I had to be dodging spoilers left and right.
Right.
So I feel for those people.
Just for officialness, at this point forward, there will be Star Wars spoilers for a little while. So if you don't want to hear them, come back later.
Yeah. You don't want to hear about how Snape kills Luke, and it's tough.
Or how Jar Jar is the Sith master and he's controlling Kylo Ren.
That whole... Oh, I hate fan theories. Can we get into that?
The thing, did you read that write-up, though?
I did. I don't. I get it. Like, yes.
It was well written.
You connect. I don't know. Fan theories always annoy me. If it's not incredibly obvious in the movie, especially something as pulpy as Star Wars.
Right.
That's all that will ever be.
Right.
I mean, the part I found the most amusing was that apparently J.J. Abrams actually read it and was like, yeah, this isn't bad. This is not a bad theory. So I found that amusing, but the theory itself, I'm like, you're reaching here.
Yeah. It's pretty funny, and it was interesting to see that character in that light, because the way that was written, when you do go back and look at a lot of the goofiness of him, it makes sense. Like, the drunken master fighting and playing stupid, and I mean, he's still an important character, because if it wasn't for Jar Jar, Palpatine wouldn't have gone into power, and then we wouldn't have any movies.
Yeah.
So he's still important. Yeah.
I honestly, though, I would have been totally fine not finding out that he had anything to do with it and just ignoring those films.
So
that would have been okay. There can be some mystery. As if The Force Awakens has taught us anything, it's that mystery is a good thing. It gets people talking about your property. Because then, when I was a kid, and probably when you were a kid as well, I don't believe we're that different in age.
No,
that's all we would do as friends. We'd sit around and talk about it like we did before the prequels came out. We used to just hear about Anakin Skywalker as a throwaway line in the movies, or in like some weird Star Wars dictionary or something.
Right.
Sitting around and like, oh, what do you think it was like? What do you think the fight between him and Obi-Wan was like? And
right. It's also interesting to go back and look at everything that could have been. Like when you go back and look at the fact in episode 1, there was no connection between Vader and Anakin originally in the script. And then the script for episode 2, the lady that George was having write it was this like fantasy author, and she had Vader like up in this giant castle with gargoyles, and he had all these mystical powers, and then she ended up passing away before she could finalize the script, so he had to have somebody else write it. And it's incredible just the things that fell into place for us to get the Star Wars that we have today.
Yeah.
And in what many different directions it could have gone, because that final decision to make Vader his father, it's essentially made it the Skywalker saga, which is why I think these spin-offs will be cool, because it will be a different point of view within that galaxy.
Yeah, well, maybe. I mean, it's looking like we may be heading down the same trail of everyone that's important is a Skywalker.
Right.
But, I mean, that's arguable. I mean, that's casting a really
well, I mean,
broad...
as far as the spin-offs, like Rogue One and stuff like that.
Rogue One
yeah.
And the Han Solo anthology.
Yeah.
Film,
yeah,
so
I'm pretty confident the episodic ones, it's still going to be the Skywalker saga.
Right.
You'd have a pretty hard time convincing me that Rey is not Luke's daughter.
Yeah. I mean, that's where I'm falling right now too, which I don't think necessarily is a bad thing.
No.
And I also like, I mean, that it's left pretty darn ambiguous. So whoever, well, I guess we know who's picking up the reins. Whoever's picking up the reins can kind of take it in whatever direction they feel like.
Right.
So I don't know. It seems like a really long wait to episode 8 for me, and that's a good thing. I mean, I'm really excited about Star Wars again.
See, I was actually surprised how little of a wait we got. I thought it was going to be every Christmas. I didn't realize that we were getting it the May following Rogue One. So the fact that we're only like 18, 17 months away is exciting.
Yeah, it's not even a full 2 years. It's
right.
A year and a half.
Disney just wants that money.
Yeah, which I'm fine with. That's totally cool.
Fastest movie to $1 billion worldwide, and that doesn't include China, which is ridiculous.
Yep. Yeah, that's totally nuts. That's great too.
I'm hoping they beat it.
I liked Jurassic World. I liked it.
Right.
But it wasn't that great. Like if it beat Star Wars, I would have been it would have put a dent in my nerd love. So
I have an opinion that if Jurassic World didn't have Chris Pratt, it wouldn't have made that money. I think a lot of it rode off of his popularity from Guardians and stuff like that.
Yeah. No, you're probably right.
But,
wouldn't. I mean, it had to have a factor, right? Because if you had just thrown like I don't know, I can't think of
Jeff Goldblum.
Jeff Goldblum. Well, that would get me way more excited.
Well, yeah, that's true. He's going to be in Jurassic World 2, from what I understand. Yeah, he's Mr. Sequel now because he's going to be in the new Independence Day.
Well, I'm really excited for the new Independence Day.
It looks good.
I remember hearing about it and being like, I don't know about this, and then I saw the trailer and I'm like, no, yeah, I'm all in.
Right.
Bring it. I want to see alien hybrid jet fighters and Jeff Goldblum looking, in awe up at the sky again.
Right. It's unfortunately we don't have Will Smith.
That is unfortunate.
Yeah.
But
we'll see. He's too into himself these days. I'm just happy they didn't cast Jaden to play his son.
Well, I mean that could be a disappointment, man. We could have had Independence Day with a white Batman running around.
Yeah.
If anyone does not know what I'm talking about, just
trying to connect the dots.
Yeah, just Google Jaden Smith white Batman costume. He showed up to a wedding in a full white Dark Knight outfit.
Really?
Yep. It's awesome.
Fair enough. So anyway,
I think it was Kanye's wedding, if I'm remembering correctly.
Oh, probably.
Yeah, I'm not
Kanye probably commissioned the outfit, or got pissed at him for getting more attention than he did. Because I didn't know Kanye had a wedding, but now I know Jaden was in a white Batman suit, which is probably bigger headlines than Kanye getting married. So back to Star Wars. You loved it.
Yeah, I had a really good time with it. I mean, I don't know. I like I said, very few complaints. Like I was hoping, like when I grew up, I was a big geek about all of the ships and stuff. So I was like, oh, I can't wait to see like what a new B-wing and a new A-wing looks like.
Right.
You get those.
Right.
Although apparently, I guess the transport that Leia showed up in was a modified B-wing. Like
that could have been.
The cockpit on it is the exact same cockpit that's on a B-wing, the ones with like the gyroscopic cockpits. But
right.
To show you how large of a nerd I am. So, but yeah, I had a really freaking good time with it.
So since everyone, oh, go ahead. Sorry.
Oh, I saw it for my second time over the weekend. Actually, my little brother hadn't seen it yet. My best friend was in from out of town. He hadn't seen it yet, so I was like, "All right, we're all going. We're all going to go see Star Wars." It's my first time seeing it in 3D. I generally avoid 3D, but it was the most convenient time that it was showing at that particular theater. 3D wasn't bad. I dug it. I wouldn't say it's necessary, but it wasn't bad.
No, that's what I was gonna say. It wasn't over the top, and you can tell it wasn't filmed for 3D. Like it was just
which is a compliment in my opinion.
Exactly. You can see it in 2D, enjoy it, and where like the scene with Kylo and Rey in the woods. When
the trees with the depth of field was super cool, and so were any of the flight scenes.
Right, and when he pulled the lightsaber out, that in 3D, like right next to her face, that in 3D was really cool.
It was pretty sweet. Actually, I thought the most effective thing was at the very beginning of the movie where he holds the laser shot in midair.
Yes.
Because that was
incredible.
Really that sold it even more in 3D.
Right.
And again, not because it's cheesy, not because it's coming towards or anything, but it's all that depth of field.
Right. And that's what I liked was they didn't try and do the coming out at you. Because the whole coming out of the screen at you, that's cool when you're 13. But, once you're older, you're like, all right, there's nothing coming out at me. Like, give me inner depth, not outer depth. Like, don't make stuff fly at me.
Exactly. The first time I ever really enjoyed a 3D movie was when they re-released Nightmare Before Christmas, because it looked like I was watching an animated shadow box, which I really dug.
Right. Nice. Yeah, I haven't seen that in 3D yet, but I'll have to check it out. I have the 3D TVs, so.
Nice.
I'll have to give it a shot.
Yeah.
But no, and I thought the crawl in the beginning looked really cool in 3D too.
Yeah, I was sitting there with Katie, who had seen it with me already on opening night as well in 2D, and it's just about to start, and I just turned to her, I'm like, oh man, the crawl's gonna be dope. And it was really cool.
Have you seen the Rick crawl that's been going around the internet?
The Rick crawl?
As opposed to the Rick scroll or Rick roll?
Rick roll? No, I have not seen that.
It says Star Wars Episode 7, and it's all in that format, but then instead of highlighting it, it's the opening lyrics of Never Gonna Give You Up.
That's special.
It looks really good. Someone's trying to bring the Rick roll back. But I thought that was entertaining.
Did it ever really leave?
No. I have a feeling once he Rick rolled the Thanksgiving Day parade, Rick rolling was here forever.
Yep. Oh my God, I remember that.
I think that was like 08, 07.
Oh, 08, yeah. I'm pretty sure it was 08 because I distinctly remember being in Orlando for Thanksgiving, and a couple of my college buddies had come along. So that was when I was at the peak of internet memes, because I was just living with a bunch of dudes and we were on the internet all the time. So like all three of us were like sitting in the hotel room with like my family, and we turned on the parade, and my one roommate goes, "Oh my God, we're being rickrolled." And I'm like, "What?" And I look over and there's Rick Astley on a float.
Yeah. What's funny is because of the format of the parade, how many times that day did he have to do that? Like he had to do it for like every single block.
Yeah, it was just on loop.
And look just as excited every time.
Yep.
And have him be more famous than he ever was for one day. It's bad when your meme supersedes you in popularity.
I wouldn't mind. Personally, I'd be pretty stoked if I had a meme that was in that high of circulation.
Yeah, that's true. But I mean, I read an interview, not to go off on a Rick Astley tangent here, but I read an interview where like he didn't get any royalties from it because like just the way it was set up, and like so it was purely just like, you're the Rickroll guy, like that's really what it was. And he's at the point now where if people refer to him like or say like the meme or anything like that, he will just completely ignore them. Kind of to turn it around the same way Alec Guinness didn't want anyone to talk to him about Star Wars.
Yeah. He was a very respected actor in his time, and that was
he was formal.
Yeah, nobody knew what the hell Star Wars was gonna be.
It's still George still doesn't know what it's supposed to be.
I mean, and Harrison Ford was in a very similar boat.
Right.
I mean, he's been watching watching Harrison Ford's press tour for The Force Awakens has been really, really interesting because he seems super enthusiastic about it. I don't know if that's, I suppose part of that is because he finally got his wish.
Right.
But he seems to be pretty damn proud of the movie. So I if nothing else, I'd like to thank J.J. Abrams for making Harrison Ford love Star Wars.
Oh, definitely. I mean, you could tell he was having a good time. This was the best acting we've seen out of him in decades.
Yeah, that was probably the thing I walked away being the most surprised about because, like, I grew up like Harrison Ford's my hero. He's like the first, the first guy I ever like wanted to dress like when I was a kid. Like, wanted to dress like Indiana Jones. I wanted to be Han Solo and have a walking carpet as my best friend. And I would have loved it no matter what. He could have totally phoned it in, and I would have been fine with it. I just wanted to see him in the Millennium Falcon again. Right. But he did such a damn good job. It was just we haven't seen him like that in forever. I don't know. He just seems so alive and animated and just so perfectly back in that character.
Right, and he did it well too because he did it to where he captured the audience. So he wasn't. Again, he didn't phone it in. He wasn't just all right. It's a paycheck, but he also did that without overshadowing any of the new cast, which I really liked.
Yeah, I mean, those are probably actually the two things I was most excited or surprised about was like how good Harrison Ford was and how much I liked the new cast.
Right.
And the first, the first whole act of the movie is nothing but new actors. And, by the end of it, at least I was totally enthralled. I'm like, yeah, cool. This is the new crew. I want to follow these guys. Let's see what happens. Right. And then Harrison Ford shows up. I'm like, oh, shit. It's the old guard and the new guard. Here we go. Let's do this.
Yeah, and that whole I unfortunately, again, spoilers. I saw, and I don't know if you've seen it by now, but somebody was spreading a picture around the internet that had a screen grab of that lightsaber scene with the lightsaber going through his chest.
Yeah,
and the caption of it was, Kylo is Harrison's son, and he kills him at the end of the movie. And I unfortunately saw that before I saw the movie.
Oh, Jesus.
Yeah, I was actually sitting in line at the theater, and I was looking at a post on Big Bang Theory, and they were talking, because that was one of the big news articles of that night, too, was because Sheldon finally got laid on Big Bang Theory that night. So I was looking...
News?
Huh?
That's news?
It's news for Big Bang Theory fans. Leave me alone.
Okay. Sorry, I didn't realize.
No, I hold it close to my heart. But anyway,
I think I made like a one tweet, one Instagram, and then I turned my phone off that day. So
yeah, but I was on that article, and somebody just randomly out of nowhere posted that. So I'm like, oh. But the thing is even having it spoiled for me, going in and seeing that scene, nothing that couldn't have been spoiled unless I saw it, because the dialogue, the acting, like everything about that final scene, it was a perfect send off for Han Solo.
No, it really was. It's funny too, because I mean, going in and not knowing it was going to happen, I mean, that was a hell of an experience. But just like seeing Empire and knowing that Darth Vader's, Luke's father, a good Star Wars is infinitely rewatchable, and I would argue that The Force Awakens is. I mean, I just went and saw it a second time and had a complete blast with it.
Right.
So, well, it does suck that you and so many other people have been spoiled and didn't get to really enjoy that kind of untainted for the first time. Like, it's a fantastic movie, and I think much like I did when I was a child, I'm going to rewatch The Force Awakens. God knows how many times I'll lose count at some point, and I look forward to losing count.
If it was a VHS tape, it would be worn out in the first month.
Exactly. Yes, it's gonna have that warped, like, oh, geez, well, I guess they don't have the 20th Century Fox music at the beginning anymore. But
no.
I remember my old.
But when the digital version of it comes out, someone's gonna dub that into the beginning. So
yeah. I apparently the only person who missed that. Afterwards, I was like talking to like Katie and my buddies and Ben. And I'm like, this is kind of weird not hearing the 20th Century drum roll at the beginning. And it's like, oh, I didn't even notice. I'm like, really? It's like when I'm a kid. That's it, man. You sit down, you put the you hit play, and then dun 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 dun. Yeah, Star Wars time. Woo!
Right. Yeah. See, at that point though, you just go right to if they put something else in its place, I think it would have been more noticeable. But where it was just cut to black, Lucasfilm, and then that epic music.
Yeah.
By then, everyone's like, "What? Fox? Who cares?"
No, that's true. That's fine.
So, and besides, Disney gave us our Christmas present, and Fox is going to be giving us our Valentine's Day present with Deadpool. Did you see the Christmas Day trailer?
I didn't see the Christmas Day trailer, but I saw the Red Band trailer that was premiered a few months ago.
Well, the Christmas Day trailer is the second Red Band trailer.
Oh, is it?
You need to check it out. It is so good.
I'm already sold, so I think I'm going to just stay away from it because I know I'm going to go see it anyway. So I think I want to see as little movie as possible.
Because depending on how much they saturate it with one-liners, this Red Band trailer is all one-liners, and they're all great, and they're all vulgar, to the point where there's a scene where he's like upside down in a spinning SUV, and it goes into slow-mo, and he goes, "Did I leave the stove on?" So, and I won't tell you anymore because you don't want to see it. But it was like, I cannot wait. It looks so good.
That's what I liked about Star Wars. They showed so little of it in the trailers.
Well,
I think when the movie finally came out, that they said that only like a maximum, if you went and really dug for every little thing that came out, that only a maximum of 12 minutes of the movie was shown of a 2 hour and 15-minute movie.
Just the way they cut it.
Yeah, and even then, I feel like some things were spoiled because at some point in the movie, is Poe dead or alive, and it's like, well, I saw a trailer where he's flying around in the X-wing, so clearly he's alive. Although there were plenty of scenes in the trailers that didn't make it into the movie.
Right. Yeah, there was the scene where Kylo pulls his saber out in the woods, and we're looking at him from behind. We never saw that.
Never saw that because he has his hood up too, so it doesn't even seem like it was from the same shoot, because in the cut of the movie that we got to see, he never once has his hood up or even his mask with him during the woods battle.
And then
there's also Maz handing Leia the lightsaber,
right?
Because I guess in the original cut of the movie, Maz was supposed to go with everyone to the rebel base, and then when they were like actually planning out, JJ realized that she's just kind of hanging out in the background and not doing much, so it didn't make sense,
right?
To go hang out with the rebels.
There were a lot of changes from what I heard. Like, I know with Luke, they tried to write him in a couple different ways, and he had said that no matter how he did it, once Luke was on screen, the new characters didn't matter. So it was just something he couldn't do.
Yeah, it just became too important, too central, which then begs the question. I'm curious, how are they going to attack Episode 8?
I have a feeling he's going to die.
Yeah, or I don't know, maybe he could also pull the Lord of the Rings wizard thing. It's like, all right, I must go off on my own adventure right now. I will come back to you when you need me most.
Right. So he's going to disappear for 30 years. We get him on screen for 5 minutes, then he's going to disappear for another whole movie.
Or I don't know. I mean, we've had that in Star Wars Past where you go look at Empire, you have Luke has his own thing, Han and Leia and the droids have their own thing, and then at the very end it converges. And I could see that. I could see where it's maybe not so much overshadowing them, but you have two different storylines. Like we follow Luke on whatever his quest is. We follow the new crew on their quest. And I'm pulling this out of my ass, people.
Right.
But that's one way you could do it. It's some Lord of the Rings does. Gandalf has his own quest, and at the end of the Battle of Helm's Deep, he shows up at the 11th hour and saves everyone's bacon.
That would be interesting. I think, well, if it was done right, because again, one of the things, at least among my friends, and I'm sure it was similar among you and yours, through, the past year where we've been seeing, the 50 TV spots that we got and everything else. And we're all like, where's Luke? Where's Luke? Is he Dark Luke? All right, well, not seeing him must be a thing because seeing him would be a spoiler and blah, blah, blah. Come to see the movie. We didn't see him because he wasn't in the damn movie. He had two scenes, and one of those scenes we saw in the trailer. So,
yes. And for all we know, the actor touching R2 wasn't even Luke. Like they could have just added a random extra wearing robes with a green screen hand.
Right. Yeah. So it's interesting, and I give some credit to Mark Hamill. I don't know if you read this or not, but he had an interview over the summer, and his wittiness comes off tenfold in this interview, because they said, when you read your script to episode 7, how did you feel? He goes, I was speechless. So he gave us a spoiler before we even knew.
Yep.
And good old Mark Hamill. And
no, guys, I meant literally.
Right. But I mean, the way I look at it, he wasn't even in the movie. The way I see the movie is when she flies off the rebel planet, that's the end of the movie. And that whole thing over the water, that was essentially the after credit stinger that we got before the credits. Is essentially what that was.
It fills the same. I mean, I guess we'll have to see the next movie to be sure, but it does fulfill the kind of same role.
Right.
Which is kind of showing us the first scene of the next movie. Now, Star Wars tends to have time gaps between sequels, but I'm really hoping that's not going to be the case. And apparently they're already out at that island filming again, so I'm pretty sure even if there is a time gap, I can't imagine it'll be that large.
No, maybe a year, 2 at most.
Yeah.
Because you got to give Kylo time to recover. You got to give Kylo time to train up more. He's going to look really badass with that scar across his face.
Yeah, yeah. I'm curious how if we're going back to helmeted Kylo, if he's gonna stick, with no helmet, if he's gonna get a new helmet. I don't.
I think it will kind of depend on where the character is. Like if he's still, because it's interesting how much of a yin yang him and Anakin are. Like Anakin was light falling to the dark, and Kylo is desperate to be dark, but he's slipping to the light. And
Right.
it's funny how they're playing opposite roles. So if killing his father was the ultimate, like light is extinguished, I think we'll see the mask a lot more. I think that mask came off because that was light and dark.
Yeah, no, I agree. And it's watching the movie and kind of digesting Kylo afterwards. I was just like, man, that's everything that it's the opposite of Anakin. It's like everything that they should have done right with Anakin, everything they should have done with him is what they're doing with Kylo.
Right.
Because he's petulant. He's still petulant, which Anakin was, but he wasn't. It wasn't just so on the nose and so just obnoxious that you're seeing like, why are we watching this dude whine in every scene?
Right.
Whereas Kylo and I don't know. I think it was better script, better directing, better acting.
And he was responsible for some of the comic relief in the movie too. Like I loved that when you pissed him off, whatever room he was in is gone.
Yep. Whatever object is in front of him has been destroyed.
And then that scene where he was destroying that room and the stormtroopers are walking and they're like, we're going to go that way.
One guy's like, whoa, buddy. Almost like the guy he's with is a rookie or something. Like, well, no. You don't want to walk past Ren when he's having one of his fits.
Right. So he's essentially, if you're familiar with the expanded universe, he's essentially filling the role of Ben Skywalker. They just kind of switched that up a little bit, but it's the same concept. It's Ben. He went to the dark side. So it seems as though Disney scrapped that, but there's still a lot of work in there they respect, so they just wanted to tell the story their own way, which is good to see.
Right. And I mean, it's still like, if you're going to name the son of one of the two main characters, like there's not a whole lot of names you have to choose from. Someone's going to name their kid Ben if they had a kid.
Right. And I'm glad they went with Ben as opposed to Jason and Jaina. Because that just came out of nowhere. It didn't really fit. So, but I thought it was great. That scene when he was at the bridge and he hollered Ben, it was such a... it was such a great moment, and
chills.
The dialogue between the two, like I said, again, that particular, like I knew it was going to happen, but I didn't know how powerful it was going to be, and just the word exchange, and the handing off of the saber, and like the eclipsing of the sun, like that scene was done so well.
The color palette, like just as it's. Because when they first start talking, it's the lighting is hitting Han, it looks blue, and the way that the lighting is hitting Kylo, one side of his face is red and the other side is blue. And then just as the sun fades and everything just turns to red, you just realize, oh no, time has run out. No, run, Han, run! What are you doing?
Right.
There's no plan to escape. Why are you out on a bridge? You've seen these movies. Nothing ever good happens on a bridge with no side, with
no railings,
no guardrails. Hell, Luke had a handrail in Empire, and it did nothing for him.
They need to return their products to IKEA and get ones with handrails.
Oh, jeez.
But no, the scene was so great, and I mean, Driver's awesome. I can't wait to see what he does with that character. But that was the scene where Harrison Ford stole it from me, because as a father, looking at him and after the blade goes through him. The sliding of the hand down the face. And when they cut to Solo's face and you're looking at him and like you can see the love and like the forgiveness and like that expression said it all. Like, you're still my son. I still love you. Like, I hope somebody saves you.
Yeah.
Like,
and all of this too is like it's uncharted territory for the character of Han.
Right.
He cared about Leia, but it was always early on in the relationship, so he's still just playing the total the gruff badass card and trying to pretend like he doesn't give a crap. But this is the first time we're really ever seeing him truly
emotional.
Anything, really. And I thought Harrison Ford did a great job with that. And also props to JJ and the scriptwriters for the movie for taking the character and going in that direction, not just giving us a rehash.
Right. And I'd say if I could add a single line to the movie, it would have been when Harrison left the Rebel base, when he was going to Starkiller base. So he was leaving Leia for the last time. I mean, maybe it would have been corny, but I thought it would have been an awesome throwback if he looked at Leia and said, "I love you," and then she said, "I know."
Yeah,
That would have been a
The movie has so many throwbacks that I think one more may have, for me, broken the camel's back. But that would have been pretty sweet.
right, but then it would have been obvious he was going to die. So
yeah, yeah. I mean, already, like I said, I mean, I went in unspoiled. Like when when Leia tells him, "Bring our son back," I'm like, he's gonna die.
yeah,
I'm pretty sure he's gonna die.
yeah.
Like because that seemed like like the last time they're gonna see each other. Like I could see, like, I'm in my head, I'm running through all the scenarios in my head. I'm just like, yeah, I don't know. I don't think we're seeing Harrison in the next movie, guys.
Well, from what I hear, he's been casted, so I assume it's probably Skywalker flashbacks.
Skywalker flashback, yeah, or yeah, he's not a Jedi. He's not gonna show up as a blue ghost, so it's gotta be a flashback.
Maybe Force powers transfer like STDs, so when they had Ben, he became a Jedi.
Oh well, that is why you have to use it's why you have to use a tauntaun skin condom. Wow.
Anyway, hey, there's fan fiction that is way weirder than any of that. Considering before Empire came out, there was a fan fiction book that had Luke and Leia hooking up. So their fan fiction got weirder than Jedi powers transferring like STDs.
Well, there was there was a budget sequel that was going to be Empire before Star Wars did so well, where it's never revealed that they're brother and sister, and their romantic relationship goes even further.
Right.
So
there's a lot of interesting directions it could have gone in.
Yeah, definitely. Interesting is a very safe, delicate choice of words there. Terrifying and scarring, are words I would choose.
Right.
Yeah, who knows? I mean, also, it could be a recording of Han Solo on like a blue hologram or something. Although apparently hologram technology has gotten a lot better.
Oh, I know. Yeah. So what's your opinion with Snoke?
This is my least favorite part of the movie.
Why?
I think we need to stop hiring Andy Serkis people. Every character that he acts in motion capture ends up looking like Andy Serkis, which ends up looking like Gollum to me.
Right.
Like just the way he talks, like watching Snoke, watching his mouth movements, it just looks like angry Gollum to me.
Yeah, he's being typecasted.
And I also really dislike the character design because it just looks. It's the only thing in the whole movie where I'm like, this is overly CG.
Yeah, no, that's true. I'm still fairly confident that it's probably Darth Plagueis. So, and based off my theory, I hope it's true, because I have this little theory that Plagueis, as we know, was Palpatine's master.
Yep.
And we know from episode 3 that he had the power to create life from nothing by manipulating, well, he said the M word, but I'm just going to say the Force.
If we are to believe that that Palpatine wasn't just lying to Anakin to get his way,
there's a chance. But I like to believe he wasn't, because my theory is that you go way back, because in the timeline, Palpatine supposedly killed Plagueis during the events of episode 1.
Mm-hmm.
So I like to think that Plagueis is responsible for Anakin's existence, because Anakin didn't have a father. And that's why he had so many midichlorians, because he was created from the Force, which is why he was so powerful. So that would in turn, if Plagueis is indeed Snoke, that would make Kylo Snoke's great-grandson.
That'd be interesting. I definitely have been living under like finger in my ears, la la la. Let's ignore the prequels entirely.
They're not that bad.
They're that bad. They're really bad. 3 is the least worst.
Right.
1 and 2 are hot garbage. And
not a Jar Jar supporter, are you?
Oh God, no! Kill it with fire. Remove it entirely. Somebody, please get the balls to go back, redo them, and strike them from record.
I've read a theory that's like when they just blew up the Republic planets and then didn't think anything of it. Like people cared for 5 seconds. There was a theory that was their way of striking down the prequels, because it was all about the Republic and the Senate. And supposedly Jar Jar was part of the Senate, and Gungans can live, I think it's like 80 to 100 years. So according to the timeline, he'd still be alive. So he would be on that planet in the Republic Senate. So that was their way of killing Jar Jar without actually putting him on screen.
Sweet. Sweet.
Because why else?
Why else? We can also just ignore it and just not bring him back and not need an explanation, which is also totally fine.
Right. I don't know. I didn't mind them. I mean, not to taint episode 7 with the prequels, but see, it's interesting you brought up the Anakin comparison to Kylo earlier, and he was a whiny little brat in episode 2, but in episode 3, I thought Hayden did a great job at the time. And looking at some of his other work like Jumper and stuff like that, he's not a horrible actor. He's not the best.
I like Hayden Christensen. I think because there's proof. There's proof in the prequels that I think the largest failing was on the script and the directing, because you have Natalie Portman in there who's an amazing actress,
right?
And oh my God, that's some of the worst acting I've ever seen her do. And again, I think it's just because of the script. The dialogue writing is the worst I've ever seen. The direction is terrible. I don't believe the romance between Anakin and Padme for a minute.
Right.
And I think the same thing for Hayden, because I've seen him in other things. Jumper was great. He's in, I think, a short in New York, I Love You, which he was fantastic in.
Right.
I would love. There's been all this talk about him possibly coming back in a flashback or appearing as a Force ghost, and I'd be all for it. I'd love to see somebody else directing Hayden Christensen as Anakin.
Would redeem the prequels a little bit. Be like, look, it wasn't his fault. It was George's fault. Leave him alone.
Yeah, because I think there's definitely a goal to invoke the prequels as little as possible, but I think it is very hard not to at least mention Anakin in some way, shape, or form.
Right. Yeah, he as far as I know, he's on the cast list, which would be cool. So in what form, we'll see. If I kind of go with my theory, it could be very well possible that if Snoke is Plagueis with the power to resurrect, he could bring Anakin back and use him to help train Kylo. So there's a lot of really cool things that could happen. I would be interested in that aspect, because apparently nobody told Kylo that Anakin redeemed himself. Like he's a Jedi now.
Yes. That's a really good point. That's something I'd like to hear. I'd like to hear more about too, which I think is fine. Because reading some of the material that led up to this, the stuff, the new books and comics that have come out that is considered canon, like Aftermath, which
right.
That was a pretty boring read, but at least did a decent job setting up the universe. A lot of stuff, even to the Imperials, is legend or myth.
Right.
The book sets up that, immediately following the Death Star's, destruction, that Palpatine's death was considered propaganda by the rebels, that no one believed he was actually dead. A large portion of the Imperials had never even seen Palpatine or Darth Vader, that they were just kind of these shadow figures. Right. Everyone's like, oh yeah, they exist, but oh no, they're not as powerful as everyone says. Nah, Sith is not true. That all this stuff has fallen to legend, even while the Sith were still around.
Right.
So I could see, depending on how Kylo was brought up. Although I find it hard to believe that, while he's slicing down, Padawans and whatnot, that Luke didn't just go, yo, dog, your grandfather redeemed himself at the end.
Yeah, but think about it, though. I mean, so if we go with the rough timeline that's been lined out on Wikipedia and stuff like that, Kylo is between 28 and 32, which fits because Adam Driver's 33. So, and we have Rey, who's supposed to be, I think it was early 20s. So he would have been an angst teenager while he was doing that. So, I mean, that would have been what his uncle going, hey, your grandfather redeemed himself. He'd be like, yeah, right, old man. You're just trying to, stop me.
Right.
So even then, I mean, that wouldn't, because, I mean, who knows? But I don't know. It's going to be good.
There's direct mention of Snoke seducing him, so Snoke probably really built him up. So I mean, and that's, like I said, it's a good thing that a lot of it is kind of left a mystery. A lot of it's kind of put on us, the audience, to kind of just sit around and debate, which I like that for the first time ever. I'm not sure where Star Wars is going.
Yeah, it's not. Well, I mean, because neither of us are old enough to have that in the original trilogy, because those were all out when we were born.
Yep. Yeah. No, so I don't remember a time where I hadn't seen all of Star Wars.
Right. And then with the prequels, because they were prequels, we knew where they were going. So there was no surprise. Somebody, actually, I think it was JF Dubois in the Tadpool who said that it would have been nice if they didn't show the suit at the end of episode 3, because at that point, if you've seen episode 4, like when you start watching it, they mention Anakin Skywalker, but they never tell you he's Darth Vader. So if they didn't show that suit at the end of episode 3, a child watching them in order for the first time would still be surprised in Empire. They just went ahead and spoiled the whole thing at the end of 3 as fan service.
Yeah, that is a good point. You're right.
Because,
I would also argue, if you're a good parent, just don't let your kids watch prequels. Not a dig on you. I know you're a parent. I'm sure you've let your kid watch the sequels.
I like the sequels. I prefer Jar Jar over C-3PO.
Oh, we can't be friends anymore, man.
Okay, but you have to admit that C-3PO was highly annoying in episode 7. I mean, he was in the middle of the first scene between Leia and Han. Whose brainless idea was that? We have Leia and Han on screen together for the first time, and C-3PO, oh, well, you might not recognize me because I have a red arm. It's like, well, go use it. Get out of here. And you know they did that just to sell toys. I think Scott said that on one of his spoiler casts, but that's all it was for, was to sell toys.
Well, every other character, I guess except R2, every other returning character looks severely different in some way as well.
Yeah.
So, and it doesn't bother me. 3PO's always had one scrap limb, so why not change what the scrap limb is?
Yeah, but I mean, I don't know. He was entertaining, I guess, but I don't know. He always seemed like a nagging wife to me. So, but
I mean, I'm not saying he's my favorite character, but I find his sins less egregious than Jar Jar.
Fair enough. Yeah, I mean, I'm in the minority for enjoying the prequels. So
I prefer the idea of the joke with 3PO, which is he's funny because he's programmed to be an English butler that's thrown into a war, whereas Jar Jar is supposed to be funny and isn't because he steps in shit.
Fair enough. But yeah, no, but overall it was great. I'm excited for 8. I'm excited for Rogue One.
Really excited for Rogue One.
After seeing what Disney can do with Lucas property, I'm excited for the first Disney released Indiana Jones, because they're gonna fix it just like the way they fix Star Wars. They will fix Crystal Skull.
I would argue that's a taller order. I think Crystal Skull is less redeemable.
Yeah, but at least there's only one of them and not three of them.
That's true. We only have one scene of Shia LaBeouf swinging on vines with monkeys.
Then the alien heads, and it was Indiana Jones in space.
Those trailers, man. Those trailers have me believe. I'm like, no, I think they did this. I think they got it. I went and saw it, and I'm like, oh.
I firmly believe it was Lucas trying to merge his two big properties. He was trying to merge them. He was trying to slowly get Indy into space.
I don't know about that one. Oh, jeez.
And you have Harrison Ford and you have Han Solo and Indiana Jones on the screen at the same time.
I want that scene when they just stand. No, I don't want that.
Never mind. It's worse than the prequels.
Fan art, that's fine. I don't need to see that in an actual film.
So how do you this obviously has essentially turned into the Star Wars episode, which is perfectly fine. But so how do you feel with people talking about how it's basically like a lot of it is episode 4 in HD? I mean, we get the X-Wing blowing up a Star Killer and...
Yeah, no, really. Like I said, I mean, Snoke was probably my biggest complaint, just because I think he's an overly CG'd mess. It didn't bother me really in the least. It's what J.J. Abrams is kind of known for doing. I mean, look at Star Trek. It's not even just a remix. He's literally playing off of things that came before it,
right?
Very directly, very one for one. Whereas this is Star Wars has always been about cycles, so I think it's more poetic in the way that he pulls it off.
Right.
Personally, I would have been fine if there wasn't a Star Killer base. Like really, you guys made the same mistake again. But I don't know. I think it also the other thing that works too. Like there's, I don't know. I think it's brilliant. And part of it obviously is just playing it safe. They had to. This is just so the hype for this is so incredibly massive that you had to make a movie that someone who had never seen Star Wars before could just sit down and watch.
Exactly.
And I think if they had just come in, charted new territory right away, expecting that everyone had seen Return of the Jedi, that it wouldn't have done nearly as well. And I think it's fine. It's gonna a lot of the quality I think of 7, and this is something Kyle mentioned in our show, and I do agree with him. I think a lot of the quality of 7 and how we see it going into the future rests on the shoulders of 8 and 9.
Right.
Whatever the new director and writers end up doing with what Abrams set up in 7 is going to kind of directly infer how well we how good we think 7 is going into the future.
Very true. Very true. Yeah, it's I'm excited. I'm really excited. I loved it. I think, kind of going back to that little bit, this was their way of saying, look, we just redid one of your favorite movies in HD and you loved it. We're not George Lucas, trust us.
Yeah.
It was the splint on the wound that was the prequels for a lot of people. And it was their way of saying, look, we can do this. So now we've proven to you we can make a Star Wars movie. Now we're going to make our Star Wars movie.
Yeah.
So
I agree. I think they did a good job. And like I said, I'm the most excited I think I've ever been for Star Wars. And it's also it's super exciting. I don't know where it's going.
99% of my Christmas stuff was Star Wars. I got T-shirts and both my kids got lightsabers, and
that's awesome.
It's Star Wars everything.
That's exactly it. I want to get back into costume making, man. I'm ready to make my Kylo Ren costume for the next movie.
Dude, my buddy, I'll have to send you his picture. I'll send it to you on Facebook Messenger. My buddy Austin is 1-for-1 Adam Driver.
Oh, really? Nice.
It is crazy. And not the older facial hair. He is Adam Driver in the movie. He's Kylo Ren. It's ridiculous. But no, and actually, and my tattoo artist, he runs a tattoo shop. The whole month of December, he's doing Star Wars portraits for $150. Everybody's all in on Star Wars. Yeah. And it's nice to see that the geeks are starting to rule the world.
Yeah, it's a good time to be a Star Wars fan.
It is. It's a good time to be a geek.
Yeah, I feel like it's been a good time to be a geek for a while now. I think since Iron Man 1.
That's true. That's true.
I think that literally kicked down the doors and be like, all right, nerds are in.
But that was, what was that, 04?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's been, 11, almost 12 years, and the...
No, Iron Man, no.
No, it was 06? Or...
I want to say 06 or 07.
Yeah.
If only we had these internet-enabled devices that allowed me to go to imdb.com.
Right.
Type in 08, 2008.
Oh, was it 8? Wow, why was I thinking 4? I don't know. Anyway,
yeah, it's 04,
either way, 8. So that still puts us at 7 years. So it's 7 years that this whole geek train's been going, and it's just picking up steam and getting stronger. So
yeah,
we're not a bleep on the map like we were for so long.
Nah, it's hilarious. Yeah, I think there were just a lot more geeks and Marvel and Star Wars and everything kind of came out. And it's like, no, it's okay. It's okay to admit that you like this stuff, guys.
Now, if only DC could get on board and stop giving us crappy DC movies.
Oh, man.
Batman vs. Superman has such potential. And then we get that trailer with that, isn't she with you? I thought she was with you. It's like, what is this, an Abbott and Costello routine? It's like, what's going on here? I mean, Affleck looks badass. Cavill has the look of Superman. This, I love Eisenberg as Luthor. I thought he was great in that trailer. I like his zany weirdness.
Yeah, I dig it too. It has all the parts of a good movie, but again, then we have basically looks like a cave troll Doomsday.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Even Wonder Woman looks strong. She's not overly sexualized. She's not put on there to be a sex symbol or anything. She's there to be a powerful woman.
I would argue that I would have preferred a buffer lady playing Wonder Woman, because I did think she looks a little skinny, and I have seen that criticism going around the web. And
yeah.
What I think is a funny but also true point. It took us a long time to get a Superman with muscles, so maybe it's just Wonder Woman's time to
right. Well, what are we gonna do? Put Ronda Rousey in the costume?
Yes, actually, that's a wonderful.
Oh, now that I've said it, yeah, that's a great idea.
That's a wonderful. I'm not. No, I don't think Ronda Rousey can act.
She's not horrible.
I don't know.
Did you see the Fast? Was it Fast 6 that she was in, or Fast 7?
Oh, right, she wasn't. Yeah, but again, she was just doing fighting scenes.
Yeah, she was kicking what's her face's ass.
Michelle Rodriguez.
Yes. Yeah. And doing it very well, by the way.
Yeah, but that's like the type of build that in my mind that Wonder Woman has. I mean, she's an Amazon. She she, 7 foot tall, just ready to rip you in half.
Right.
But we'll see. I don't know. Haven't seen it yet. I try not to judge movies ahead of time, but man, it just looks like it's committing all the sins of Spider-Man 3.
Right. And now, how did you feel about Man of Steel?
I didn't dislike it. Like, it's probably my favorite Superman movie, but I hate every Superman movie.
Right.
So,
you see, I'm not a Superman guy.
Yeah.
So I'm Marvel, but I love Batman. Like the tattoo sleeve on my right is all dedicated to zombie Batman. So
Okay.
like
Yeah,
I love Batman.
I'm huge into Batman as well, but I when I was a kid, I hated Superman.
Right.
When I started getting older and started reading comics like Kingdom Come and Dark Knight Returns are amazing, and they're amazing because of Superman.
Right.
And the way that they utilize that character, and his conflict isn't just, oh, someone brought kryptonite.
Right.
It's much larger than that. It's the testing of his ideals, and that's part of the reason I'm just going into Batman versus Superman really jaded, because they're ripping off Dark Knight Returns entirely without any of the history that led up to it.
Right.
That exact fight, by the way, that's happening in Dark Knight, or Batman versus Superman. When that happens in Dark Knight Returns, like they've been friends for like 30 or 40 years.
Yeah.
These are two guys that respect each other to hell and back, but just have completely different philosophies on how to keep peace and order.
Right.
And it's that doesn't look like that's happening in this movie. It looks like they're just meeting and just decide to hate each other for the sake of a fight scene.
There's part of me that's hoping that they kind of go the Iron Man 3 route a little bit. And when I say that, I mean because Iron Man 3 was barely an Iron Man movie. It was mostly a Tony Stark movie. But I love Downey as Stark so much that I was okay with that. And
yeah, my favorite parts of 3 are the first 3 quarters. The last fight scene, I'm like, this is the weakest part of the film.
Right.
The best part is him in a wooden garage trying to fix his suit with a kid.
Being Tony Stark.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was great. And I thought the chemistry between Cavill and Ben Affleck were great in that trailer. Like when they have that exchange at the gala event.
Yeah.
And I'm like, if we get more of this, I know the majority of people would be pissed because they want to see Batman, Superman. But if we get Clark Kent and Bruce Wayne, I'd be okay with that because that was an awesome exchange.
Let the characters breathe. Give us our Firefly kitchen scenes where it's just all the characters playing off each other.
Right. And then, just a few short months after that, we've got Suicide Squad. And I think that looks great. I love Leto's look as Joker. I didn't at first, but it grew on me. And then, all the tattoos and just how psychotic he seems. Like, I think he's going to be great.
I take issue with the Joker look, but I'll again, I'm always excited about a new take on Joker, so I'm trying to reserve judgment until I actually see the movie.
What is it, like the grill and the ink, and it's just not traditional Joker, or
it's everything.
Yeah,
it's everything. It's just it's definitely not. There's a lot of different Jokers that I've had in my head over the years, and never has the Joker gone that far into, oh God, I fell into a pile of Hot Topic vomit.
Fair enough. he is like the hipster Joker.
Yeah, but Jared Leto is a hell of an actor, so I don't care. He could look nothing like the Joker, and you tell me he's the Joker, I'm like, I don't care. I could go in with my eyes closed. I just want to see what he does with it.
Right. So. See, I had never really seen much of his stuff, and when I first heard it, I'm like, really, the 30 Seconds to Mars guy is going to be Joker? And then I went back and I watched. Actually, Randy Jordan called me out on Facebook because I was like, Leto, seriously? Get a real actor, not a musician trying to be an actor. And he's like, have you ever
seen... He won an Oscar, right?
Well, no, see, I wasn't. And I'm like, he's like, have you ever seen Dallas Buyers Club? Did I tell you about the time that I saw Dallas Buyers Club? So I'm like, all right, well,
that is a hell of an actor.
Like, I know Jordan knows movies, so I got to go back and watch it. And I watched some of his old stuff, and yeah, like he blew it out of the water. I'm like, all right, I'm excited now. And it was kind of like Ledger. Like, even Ledger, I was like, really, the gay cowboy is going to be Joker?
Oh, I absolutely had that reaction about Ledger, because up until that point, I was like, oh, he's just in all those teen heartthrob movies and Brokeback Mountain.
And Knight's Tale.
Yeah. Which actually, after I saw that, I went back and watched Brokeback Mountain, and he's insane in that movie.
Oh, it's a great movie.
Really good in that movie.
Yeah.
It's a shame he's not around. I'd love to see more.
I would love to have seen the Joker in Dark Knight Rises, because he was supposed to be.
Yeah, he was.
It's my understanding that the court scene where it was the Scarecrow, that was supposed to be Joker.
Yeah.
And they had to recast and change it up a little bit.
Yep. Yeah, that sucks. Although glad to see more of Scarecrow.
Yeah, I wish we saw more of him because I love mind blank, but I love him as an actor.
I'm totally blanking on his name as well, but
yeah, him. Because he was in that movie Red Eye, which I think was a total sleeper movie.
I never saw that, but
he was great in it.
He's in objectively, guys. This is not opinion; it's a fact. He's in the best zombie movie ever made,
which is
28 Days Later. He's the lead.
Oh yeah, that's right.
Cillian Murphy.
Yes, that's right. Okay, yeah, no, that's right. He was in that, and I love his look. Like I think he looks cool. Like he just like the way he carries himself and the way he acts. I think he's a very enjoyable person to see on screen.
Yeah, I dig him. It's good stuff. Good time to be nerd. It's nice that we can even sit here and cherry pick like, oh, these ones suck, these ones are great, because there's that much property being made in this space right now. So
it's not like, well, this is the only Hulk TV show on, so I guess we have to go with it.
Yeah, exactly.
Or the Captain America or the Avengers movie that came out, what was it, 80s or 90s? That was.
Or the original Flash, which had Mark Hamill in it. Well, I guess he showed up in the new one.
Yeah, he was in a couple of episodes and he's really good. Yeah. So, but no, it is. Well, yeah, let's kind of close it around. There was a couple other things I wanted to get to, but I've already kind of kept you on here for an hour. So
that's what happens when you ask me about Star Wars.
Yeah, I know, it's all good, and that's another thing. You know, again, the time of being a geek is it's like I can have a whole show notes section lined out, and then once Star Wars gets mentioned, that's the episode.
Here we go.
Yeah, and I have a feeling if I start poking you about Newfound Glory, it's gonna be another hour on here.
Got tickets to see them in 2 months.
They're still around.
Oh God, yes.
Really?
Yeah. They had a switch up. Their one of their guitarist, who was also their main lyric writer, was kicked out of the band.
Right.
Now they're a 4-piece. And
still the same vocalist though, right?
Yeah,
because I think he's a unique part where it'd be hard to replace him.
Oh God, it's always hard to replace the voice of your band.
Right.
I mean, their bands have done it to varying degrees of success, but no, they're really great now. Their most recent album, everyone go check it out. It's awesome. It's wonderful. I mean, it's been out for a year now, but I dig it. Since he went down to a 4-piece, their other guitarist Chad's hardcore chops has really bled in, and I dig it quite a bit.
Nice. Yeah, I was a fan. I loved him. Like I was very much a part of that, and I'm a little bit older than you, so it was even interesting for me because I was like getting into. Newfound and Fall Out Boy and like the pop punk emo genre, the screamo, and when I was almost a little too old to be getting into it.
I get that. I mean, I like what you like, but yeah,
right. I would be like 19, jamming out to like Grand Theft Autumn by Fall Out Boy.
Yeah,
it's like this is written for teenage girls.
Yeah, but it's catchy as shit.
It is, and that's why it's popular. And
yeah, I mean, this whole thing has been us like just blurting out our opinions, and clearly you like the prequels, and I'm a little more jaded on them. But I mean, Christ, just like what you like. If you like Nickelback, own it.
I love
turn
Nickelback.
that shit up to 11 in your car, and who gives a shit?
I love Nickelback. Nickelback is great. Actually, there's a funny joke with my wife, and I won't keep it too much longer, but there's a funny joke. The day we got married, because I live in Maine, and the day we got married, they were playing in New Hampshire. And I'm like, can I do the ceremony, and then you can kind of entertain everybody at the reception, and I can go see Nickelback? She's like, no.
Test of a relationship.
She's like, no, you can't. But no, Nickelback has always been a big weak spot of mine. I've always enjoyed them. I think they put on a great show. Really quick, I did want to ask with Newfound, how does their newer stuff compare? Because like the last album I think I heard was probably Catalyst. So we're talking a long time ago.
I think you'll be pleasantly surprised.
Cool. What's
Catalyst had some, again, had that kind of hardcore influence in a few of the songs.
Right.
And it's almost the latest album, which is called Resurrection, is kind of a whole album of that.
Cool.
I've been a fan since the very beginning, and I really think their latest album, Resurrection, is if not my favorite, it's definitely like top 3.
Right.
It's really good.
Nice. Yeah, I'll have to check it out. Yeah, because I was always a fan, the whole My Friends Over You thing, and then From the Screen to the Stereo.
Yeah.
I thought that was a great cover. They still do my favorite My Heart Will Go On cover.
Oh God, yes. And there's so many.
Yeah.
And it's great. And it's funny too, because when they did that, they weren't on a major label yet, and it still sounded like all their stuff was being recorded in a concrete closet.
Right.
But it's fantastic.
That whole album front to back is great. I mean, the I Don't Want to Miss a Thing cover is awesome. Like, they just took ballads and made them like punk, and they were great.
Yeah. So if you stopped at Catalyst, they did a sequel to From the Screen to Your Stereo.
Oh, did they?
Yeah, they did a second one, and there's some fantastic covers on it.
Nice, I'll have to check it out.
They had everyone vote on what songs they were going to do, and then they just picked, I think, an 8-track list and just did it.
Oh, nice. Well, that's cool. I'll have to check it out.
Yeah, it's good. It's good. Yeah, man, all this, you're taking me back, man. Fall Out Boy, I saw them. I didn't know who they were the first time I saw them. They were opening for Taking Back Sunday. And literally 1 year later, they came back, played the same venue, headlining because Sugar We're Going Down had blown up.
I actually like their resurgence too. I think their newest album is probably some of their best work.
Yeah, I like it. It's night and day. You could listen to the 2 most recent Fall Out Boy albums, and you could listen to everything that came before it, and it's very different.
Right. Like when I first heard My Songs Know What You Did in the Dark, I was like, this is Fall Out Boy? Like, that's such a great song.
Yeah, I actually sat there. I was like, I don't know how I feel about this. And then a week later, it was stuck in my head, and I couldn't get it out. And I was purchasing the album, but yeah, no, I dig them, and that's another thing. It's like, yeah, I can't stand Nickelback; they're the worst. But it's like, well, people have the same reaction to Fall Out Boy or Green Day or New Found Glory. It's like, whatever, like what you like. And
I get crap all across the board because my favorite metal band is Avenged Sevenfold. And I have metalheads everywhere going, they're not real metal. And I'm like, they're like 80s metal. Like, they're metal like Guns N' Roses and Metallica were metal. Yeah,
that was another one of those bands that, like, I was in high school when they started to take off, and they used to be a lot
heavier,
a lot harder.
Yeah.
Like, and then all of a sudden it's like, I forget which album it came out. I was like, why is he singing so nasally now? Why isn't he just making my ears bleed by screaming? But again, it's, again, whatever.
Right.
It's your boat, guys. Just get out there. And
Indeed.
There's plenty of people who like it, clearly.
There's no fact, there's only opinion, and everyone has the right to their own. Even though some of them might be stupid.
Argue there are some facts, but
well, I mean, as far as taste,
yes.
Like
when it comes to art, I mean,
even whether it's a video game, I mean, that's one of my biggest gripes is when something goes like, the big one, Call of Duty sucks. It's like, no, it doesn't. It is one of the least buggy games to come out every year. The servers are stable on day one. You get solid DLC with it. It's the same game every year, but it doesn't suck. It's a well-developed game. You just don't like it, or you're sick of it.
Yeah. For me, it's overdone. I used to really enjoy them. I used to pick up every damn Call of Duty, play it on day one, and get into it. I think just too much iteration. Yeah,
I got what was it? Black Ops 3, and I'm playing it, and I'm like, I just want to play Overwatch. I don't want Black Ops. I want Overwatch.
I picked up Battlefront over the Christmas break, and
how do you like it?
I love how I love it for its flaws. It is not a modern shooter at all.
Nope.
It is very feature light, and I think that's why I like it.
Right.
It's just a meat grinder. You just go in and just everyone's dying, everything's blowing up. But I'm just having a great time.
It's fun, and it's
old school.
It's Star Wars nostalgia, and that's exactly what they banked off of.
Yeah.
And, and they have the Battle of Jakku map, which set up the aftermath that we saw in episode 7, and
exactly.
It was a lot of fun, and it's stable, and it's good. I know people who are FPS purists who are like, there's no bullet drop, there's no reload. I'm not going to play that. That's not competitive. I'm like, it's Star Wars. It doesn't need to be competitive.
Also, it's a laser.
Right.
Why would a laser drop?
Right. Gravity doesn't affect lasers. There's no clips that hold laser bullets. So, well, Garrett, I'll go ahead and let you go here, and I want to thank you very much for coming on. It was a blast to chat with you again. We haven't really had a long conversation since BlizzCon of last year, so it was nice to chat with you again.
Yeah, man. Thanks for having me. This was a blast. I love having any excuse just to rant about Star Wars, so I appreciate it.
Very much. And where can any of the listeners find you if they want to hear more of the Weinzierl?
Oh, everything I can do is over at amove.tv. I'm also on Twitter at Garrett Art.
Very cool, very cool. And as you guys know, as for this show, you can follow us on Twitter at IG_MindOfAGeek. You can find the schedule of upcoming guests as well as the show notes for all of our previous episodes at inkedgeekstudios.com/MindOfAGeek. If you have a question or a comment for an upcoming guest, you can email us at mindofageekpodcast@gmail.com. And as always, if you enjoy any of the content we provide for you here at Inked Geek Studios, please go on over to patreon.com/IG Studios and consider showing your support for our content. And that, I think, is going to do it. Garrett, thank you very much. It was a blast, man. I had a pleasure chat with you again.
Thanks again, Nate. Have a good one.
Definitely. You guys have fun.